hello everyone. Thank you so much for watching and welcome to my very thoughtful world. Guys, I work super hard to bring you all powerful, positive women who are living their purpose and learning to turn their purpose into income so that you can start doing it too. So tonight I'm excited for my guest, Coach T. Lane. Listen, T, please tell everybody who you are and what amazing things you do.
Well, Kanisha, I just like to say that I am just a woman who has figured out how to use the superpowers that we all have. And
Yes.
that's the ability to take anything negative and transform it into something positive. The
Mm.
ability to take painful moments in life and turn them into powerful purposes. And then this is one that I know that you love as well using, and that's like using my thoughts to create the life that I desire to
Yeah.
live. And now I teach other women and young girls how to do the same.
I love it. I love it. So tell us, T, how did you get into this work? Like, how long have you been doing it?
I have been doing this for a long time, but really taking it serious for about 5 years now.
Okay.
And just on paper, my titles are I'm a personal growth coach and a sexologist. And I just came into it simply by like I said, using one of those superpowers. I had some painful moments in my life. In my childhood, I went through sexual trauma. I experienced that and experienced it from someone who's supposed to be my first love, who was supposed to
Mhm.
teach me just what love is supposed to look like and be my protector, so that I went through a lot of things with that, as you can imagine, mentally as well. And I had to learn how to overcome it, those sexual traumas. And when I learned how to overcome that throughout that journey, I realized that it wasn't even just the sexual trauma I had to overcome. It was just becoming a better person throughout, like a whole personal growth journey. So
Wow.
as I went through my journey and learned how to do it, I just went on and turned that into a powerful purpose and began to help other women and young girls to do the same. And now it ain't even just on the sexual trauma side, it's with anything in life. Learning how to
Mhm.
overcome anything so it doesn't keep you in a space you don't want to be in.
Wow. So what was that like to, because I imagine if you've gone through this, you said you experienced sexual trauma for someone who was supposed to love you. I don't imagine after the trauma immediately you was like, okay, well, I'm just going to get over it or I'm going to start building from it. What was the switch? What made you go, and I'm assuming this, I'm not a victim, but this is how I get to the other side.
Yeah. Well, it's just again, like, I've always had that, and I think that we're born with these superpowers. You got to learn how to maneuver through things. Because I feel like we're all gonna have this defining moment, or maybe people have multiple defining moments in life that are traumatic, or just moments of pain and sorrow, grief, maybe losing someone. We all
Mm.
go through things, and like I really, Kanisha, feel like I've used my superpower of how to change that negative to positive since a little girl. So my trauma took place when I was 11 years old, like middle school age.
Oh,
And I
wow.
can remember the first thought I got of like, I'm going to take this and overcome it. I was a teenager. And I was like, I'm not gonna like whatever this thing that happened to me, and it was my dad who did my abuse or caused my abuse and my trauma. I'm like, as a teenager, I said, I'm gonna become someone, I'm gonna take this and use it to help other young girls who may have gone through it too. So that's
Wow.
what started as a teenager. That thought was in me. I'm gonna take this negative and I'm gonna turn it into something positive. And then I
Wow.
went off and went to college. Shout out to North Carolina A&T State University.
Glad you cried. Okay, I didn't know. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I went to A&T and decided to get my degree in psychology because the route I was gonna take to turn that negative into a positive was becoming a counselor, a therapist. But I still ended up doing it. It just looks different now,
Okay.
similar but different.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so do you have an organization where you help these young ladies, or are you like going into other organizations to do it?
Right now, I serve my community, so I'm in the 252 area.
Okay.
So I do group coaching sessions at our local community resource center or the community rec center. I teach the girls, I work with their moms, and then I'm in the process, like pretty soon I'll have something online because I've been getting a lot of people outside of the community who are like, we want to tap into this too. So that's coming in the very near future. But right now I do a lot of work in my community.
Okay. And did you go out and reach out? Like, so how did people know that T is the person to go to for this?
Just I tell people we're in 2023 and we are in the digital age, and social media is a blessing.
Yes.
It is a blessing. So I just market what I do on social media, and people find me. Word of mouth is amazing for small business owners like
Mhm.
myself. So people spread the word about me. Like that's how you and I connected.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I get it out right now.
Yeah. And I love to ask those questions because oftentimes we think that it's so hard. Like we create these imaginary ideas about business and serving in our purpose that makes it seem impossible. I remember when I first started my business, we used to live in Beijing, China, and that's where most of mine kind of started. And I was talking to a mentor and I said, I don't feel like I have a business. And she says, why? This is how crazy the mind is. I said, because I don't have any file cabinets. She said, what?
Kanisha.
I really did. Like, because somewhere in my mind, if you have a real business, you have files and a file cabinet, and I didn't have one. She says, where do you keep your information for your clients and like your contracts? Listen, it's like in a file on my computer. She said, that's your file cabinet. I was like, so, and I share that to say how often we can come up with these really strange rules
Mm-hmm.
that make us think, well, I can't do that because for me, it was
Mm-hmm.
something as silly as because I don't have a file cabinet.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's what it was. Like even like I said, I thought that I had to go get the degree and go and get even more schooling and get licensed. And this is like I love therapists are amazing. A therapist helped me throughout my personal growth journey of becoming who I am today. But
Mm.
that's I was telling myself that I couldn't do what I already know God had like called me to do. What was my purpose without that? So you're right. Like the mind can tell us some crazy things that to hold us back, to make us sabotage operating in our gifts, which
Yes.
will end up eventually making room for us.
Yeah, and that's what I really want people to get is because once we get our own way and we learn that it really is just a story, then we can begin to, like you said, operating in that gift, showing up from taking that pain, that place of pain to purpose. That's how I actually became a coach as well. I experienced something pretty traumatic, reached out to she was a therapist who operated her groups as more coaching.
Mhm.
And she said to me, Kanisha, you should become a coach. And I was like, why? She says, because when I look at my call sheet and see that I get to have a call with you, I get so excited because I'm gonna be encouraged. And she says, you're one of the few people I know who are going through something this traumatic, and you have so much hope and belief on the other side.
Mhm.
I well, listen, the Bible says, "Yea, though I walk through the shadow of death, I'm going my way through. Like I can't stay here."
Mhm.
So yeah, tell me about sexology.
Yeah, so the sexology part, it comes in again. Like I feel like we go through things just so we can learn how to, and we're never given anything that's more than what we can bear. And so I feel like we go through things so that we can learn what we need to learn from it, overcome it, so then we can reach back and help those who may not be as strong as we can, like give them the knowledge and the tools that we've acquired on the journey. So becoming a sexologist, it was all about me having to unlearn a lot of things that I was taught directly and indirectly about sex because of my trauma. And being like I'm a married woman, I've been with my husband for 15 years. Like I didn't want to see sex as a traumatic thing for the rest of my life. I wanted to see it as pleasurable. So there was things that I had to learn. And so becoming a sexologist, I ended up joining, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you know Candy Burris from
Yes,
the Real Housewives. Yeah.
yeah.
In Escape. I joined her company, Bedroom Candy, and that was my first entryway into starting my entrepreneurship. And I wanted to use it to start my coaching business. And I thought it
Okay.
was just going to be just helping women who had experienced sexual trauma, helping them see how to make it a pleasurable thing. But it helped me. There was other things that I realized that I hadn't quite like healed from, or things I hadn't quite learned. So it taught me a lot.
Mm,
It provided me with tools to learn things, and like that's how I got into it. I really love to just provide spaces to give sex positive education
I love
for
it.
women and their partners, teaching them just how to see sex as a pleasurable thing. And if you're a partner of someone who has experienced sexual trauma, how do you cope with them? How do you be there to help them? But then also I take that sexologist, and like I said, I work with women and young girls. So I
Okay.
teach the little girls. I teach them about their bodies, what's going on when they come into puberty, experiencing their periods, teaching them how sacred their virginity is, like that they are the portal of life, that without us, the female body, there is no life. Like all life comes through us. So how they should really like just treat their body, their vulva, their vagina as sacred and not give it away to other people. So that's where
Mhm.
the sexology comes in, just providing the space to give knowledge and education around a taboo topic.
That sounds absolutely amazing. And I am thankful that you're out there doing that. I remember when I had my daughter, well, and my son. I had said to my husband, I said, I want the word sex to be in our house no different than car.
Mm-hmm.
But sex carries its own energy, regardless of how you may want it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that in being growing up, going to church, and I committed my life to Christ right after I got married. I always say I married Jesus and Andre in the same year because couldn't do marriage without him. But I remember one time, like Oprah was doing this series where she was talking about teaching young girls sex with a sex therapist. And my pastor just kind of had all this negative things to say. And I said, well, the church ain't teaching us. What are we supposed to teach them? And no one in the room said a word. And it always annoyed me that the church or people or, communities would tell women, don't have sex before marriage. Don't. But we don't teach us how. We don't teach us don't teach about the body. I told my daughter, I said, one day the right little boy is going to touch you, and what didn't feel good will all of a sudden feel good. She was like, what you mean, Mom? Because
Yeah.
we're not telling them,
Mm-hmm.
the honesty and the truth about it. So I'm so glad you're out there doing that.
It's needed, and like we're being from a small country town. I had my pushback when I first came out, but that's what when you're operating in your purpose,
Mhm.
you just got to keep going, and it's all about your language and your posture. So
Yes.
like I presented it in a way, it was taking away the taboo, and it's like just it's education. We got to learn. It's the way that we're all here. Without it, the human race would be extinct. We're all doing it, and then just as females, which Kanisha, that was actually why when I experienced my trauma, it was hard. I did not end up telling anyone, my mom, nobody, until I was well into my 20s. And it was
Mhm.
because growing up in a Christian household, that's all I heard. Don't,
Right.
don't, don't. And so even though it was not my fault,
Right.
it was wrong. Like I didn't want to tell. I just felt like it was bad. And that's the culture that we create when we continue to like just say like no, just don't do it, or just teach abstinence. And
Uh,
even research shows like with our youth, when we're just teaching abstinence only sex education, and those are the areas where teen pregnancy is the highest.
right. I've never understood the way people move when they see things don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no logic to it. The Bible says, "In all thy getting, get understanding." And the only way to get understanding is you ask a lot of questions, and you
Mm-hmm.
are willing to answer those questions. You can't get understanding by saying don't and don't ask no questions. I remember I asked the minister when I was younger something, and he says, "You don't question God." And I said, "Well, I'm asking you."
Yeah,
And it's because a lot of times people aren't equipped and they don't know.
they don't know.
And they don't have the courage and the humility to say, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we have all these like sad and broken children because in this day and age, the worst thing is it's at their fingertips.
It Oh, girl. Ooh. And that's why, so October just passed, and in the state of North Carolina, October is Let's Talk Month. And that's the
Mm,
month where our governor like just ordained it as having open and honest conversations about relationships and sex with the youth. So that was what my group coaching session in the community was about in October. And the moms were able to sit in, and I let the girls just write questions anonymously, because I'm
good.
always, of course, it's always age appropriate. The education that I provide them. So I just let them write any questions they wanted pertaining to sex and relationships, and you will be surprised what some of the questions are, because like you said, it's at their fingertips. It ain't like back in the day, even with me, it wasn't that long ago, but we didn't have access to just anything on the internet and what they
Mhm.
all the stuff that they can see on TikTok and Instagram. So I'm a girl mom myself, and my daughter is about to be a teenager next month. So I would
Yeah.
rather like just train her, like give her knowledge, let her ask me these things instead of learning it from the internet. Let me give you the correct knowledge about it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. What was, and listen, this is online. There is no beeping. I am curious because my thing is, if a child is thinking or saying, I'm hoping that there's a mom watching who is not so in denial. What is some of the things these young girls was writing that maybe some moms today would be surprised to know that they are asking these questions?
Ooh. Well, like one of them wanted to know like what is the clitoris? Or another question was, how do I feel sexual pleasure?
Hmm.
And it's different age groups. Like someone asked, like, how are babies made?
Okay.
Well, that's one. They want to know like what is happening when their period goes, which that's a big one. Like, actually, they want to know like what is taking place, what is the period, and I love teaching them about that, because oftentimes that's taught from a negative place. But I teach them, no, it's a sacred moment in a young
Mhm.
girl's life. Like, yeah. But they ask,
Wonderful.
how can you tell if someone wants to have sex with you? Things like that we talk about. And
Awesome.
this is from their questions that they're asking.
Right, right. And so this is no longer taught in school, or is it taught in such a way that's not very helpful? Because I remember those moments too.
I believe if it's still taught in school, it's only like it's from a abstinence only standpoint.
Mm. Now
Mhm.
my daughter and son, they went to school again in China, and I remember Brianna came home. She's like, "Mom." So they used the whole cucumber and the condom thing, and she was just shocked, like her whole little mind. But interesting as I think about it, Bryson never talked about it. Now he was, he had the classes, but he never talked about it. And we had to have a whole different journey with him because he was exposed to pornography very young.
Mhm.
And instead of being the mom who shamed him or um, made him feel like beat him down because of that, because again, it's at the fingertips. All it takes is one child to show you, and now here you are. I
Right.
explained because I used to listen to a lot of things before I had the children, and I explained to him about the thing about pornography, which is I think is a part that many people don't talk about, is that with sometime with young men, they can't get turned on without it anymore. So now they have a beautiful woman right there in the room with them, and they can't even get an erection.
It desensitizes them.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And so I just had real conversations to say, I'm not going to beat you up for it. I don't want you to keep watching it, but here's what you need to know if you do,
Mhm.
right? So that he can make a free choice when for me, it's a God thing that you can find freedom from it and not shame. And I was even sharing with a young lady today. I struggled earlier in life with pornography,
Mhm.
and we don't talk about it. We definitely don't talk about it as young women, as adult
Mhm.
women. No, and certainly not in the church because nobody, you
Mhm.
saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost. You just
Mhm.
it was something else when you home by yourself.
Yeah. It's such a need. Like that's what I really enjoy what I'm doing, and that's like my gift is all in. It's teaching. I love to teach and put things in such a simple way that anybody can understand. And like what I do is needed. We need even more. And I have a team like through Candy's company, Bedroom Candy, like I have a team of other women who also provide safe spaces to provide this the teachings and stuff around sex. Like I have one young lady on my team, she struggled with sex addiction and coming onto the team, like just learning how she helps others who struggle with that too, whether it's like pornography or anything else. And she talks about how she got into it from experiencing sexual trauma and how she had to overcome it. So what we're doing is really needed because like I said in the beginning, like sex is the way that we all got here.
That's
Everybody's
right.
doing it. And it's a natural part of life. We don't need to learn about it just from an abstinence standpoint or just from STDs or how to put a condom on. Like teach that other side too. Like how
Yes.
like it's a pleasurable
Pleasure.
thing. But
Yes.
when you're working with the youth, like when the time is right, okay.
Yes. 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 And it's interesting. I'm really thankful that you're sharing that because I think for me personally, when I hear Candy and her line, I just thought it was just like one thing. I didn't know the education part was there.
No, that's the main part. We are
Yeah.
big. Our motto, Kanisha, is we educate and empower others. And from there we earn, you know.
Yeah.
But it's big on the education and the empowerment because it's so many people who just lack, like never got sex education. Like even
Yeah.
the anatomy, learning your body, like the things like not knowing what the clitoris is, or knowing that
Mhm.
not knowing that it's not the vagina that you're seeing down below your exterior genital area. That's your vulva. Like just
Right.
providing that education. While lubes may be important, or even for when I work with the women, mature women, the changes your bodies are going through, like when you experience menopause, why
Yeah.
sex may not feel as pleasurable anymore, but what's happening, and why these certain products may help you. So
Wow.
we're real big on the education. I actually teach an adult sex ed class online every month.
Wow, I'm gonna have to make sure I start following that because I am going definitely in that range of life. I'm thankful it has not affected. Only it had slowed down my drive, but it hasn't affected the everything else I'm rolling good in.
Yeah.
Um, but being intentional about because I think is very important in my relationship with my husband. Intimacy is very important to me. I'm not one of those women who, and I used to have these conversations with some women where they're like, he needs to get over it. I'm like, girl, we don't want our husbands to not want to make love to us. Like we don't.
Mhm.
That's not the goal, right? The goal, like Steve Harvey says, the old is the goal. I want to get old and still making love to my husband. So as
Mhm.
long as you can. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing and tell people, um, do you do one-on-one coaching? I know you do the group coaching through the organizations, but what if there's a woman watching, she's been through maybe a sexual trauma, and she doesn't know how to kind of get over it. She hasn't found that maybe right therapist or right organization who can help her. Do you help with that? Can you help that person one-on-one? Do you do one-on-one coaching?
Yes, I can. She can reach out to me. She can email me at Coach T Lane, just like how my name is here, or if you're listening to the audio, TeeLane, Coach T Lane at gmail.com. Just shoot me an email and we'll go from there. I can send them my link on how to set up an appointment with me. We can set up a consultation at first just to see what it is that you've been experiencing, what it is that you desire to work through, and then we'll go from there.
I love it. I love it. And is there anything you want the ladies to know about what you do, but also about getting started themselves or starting their own business?
I would just say for anybody out there who's just on the fence, because I know that this is your specialty. You help those women just get off the fence, whatever's holding them
Yes.
back and causing them self-sabotage. Like just step out there. And Kanisha, I realized one of the main things that I had battled with at different periods of my entrepreneurship journey was fear. And
Mm,
every single time, what helped me get over it, I guess that's the advice that I'll give to your audience. Every single time, what helped me to get over it was realizing that when I felt that fear, I was thinking about me. It was
mm.
my ego. And every time I reminded myself that what I'm doing, and that's why you got to be walking in your purpose, you got to be operating in your gifts. Because every single time I reminded myself that what I was doing was for others, it's for something bigger than myself, is to help other people who need what it is that I'm offering, the fear went away.
Look at
I
that.
got outside myself.
I love it. And listen, guys, if you all don't hear anything else tonight, please hear that. Because I always like to tell people fear is just a thought. And once we can get that thought in control, those emotions, those feelings of slow down or die down or just flat out, like you said, they'll go away. And
Mm-hmm.
lastly, I always like to ask all of my guests this question. What book would you recommend? Or maybe that book that changed everything for you?
This is an easy one, and because I'm a nerd, I love to read. I'm a student. Look, I teach. I'm a coach, but I'm always a student. I learned some things tonight on here with you, Kanisha. But
Oh, thank
the book that changed my life when I decided it was 2019 when I decided to really get serious and go forth with being a personal growth coach and a sexologist. But God like took he was like, hold on, it's some stuff I need you to work on yourself, which that's another lesson there. Like you gotta become, there's some things that you gotta become in order to fully operate in your gift and in your purpose. But
you.
the book that changed my life, that really made me realize the power of our mind, that I don't have to feel depressed or sadness or pain from anything that I went through, was Think and Grow Rich. And
That book me too.
when you think of that book, people think like, oh, Think and Grow Rich is going to teach me how to become wealthy and money. Like, no, that book taught me the power of my mind. I have a whole psychology degree, but it wasn't until I read Think and Grow Rich that it
Yeah.
taught me just how powerful my mind is. Like, I can, whatever I think, I can have. So a woman thinks, so is she. All I got to do is
Yes.
change my thoughts. Like, man, that book changed my life. Game
That
over.
is, I so agree with you. That book shifted so much for me. I remember reading that book like, oh my God. Oh my, I
Mm-hmm,
kept having all these oh my God moments.
mm-hmm,
And I said to my husband, I said, Andre, because Andre's in education. I said, America does not want to change the education system.
mm,
Because if they did, every child will be required to read that book.
yep.
Not all this other crap. And so I remember after I read the book, I would come home every summer and my children would have to read like something in Black history because they didn't get Black history in Beijing. Right.
Mm.
So every summer they come home, they have to read a book and write me a paper. That was my mommy being given them Black history. Do you
I
know
do
after
the
reading
same
that,
thing.
did you do that?
Yes.
After reading that book, their assignment changed. I said, listen, y'all Black, y'all gonna get enough history, y'all gonna know. You all have to now read this book.
Yep.
Think and Grow Rich. I love the one by what's his name? Can't the guy who wrote Chicken Soup of the Soul. How to get from where you are to where you want to be.
Uh-huh.
That one was great. And what happened is, so my daughter, God love her, she just, Mama, I just can't read a personal development book.
Mm-hmm.
I tried. She wouldn't. My son read Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and How to Get from Where You Are to Where. He came. This was his junior year. He said, "Mama, I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 40."
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "Well, millionaires they have to know stocks or real estate. You need to figure out which one you want to invest time in and go to learning." And he began to learn stocks. And to this day, he make investments where he can, right? And it's just that shifting.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
shifting where he now thinks different. And that's the same with me.
Mm-hmm.
Is I can sometimes I can just sit and like, okay, Lord, I need to earn $1,000. This mind and get to go working on how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn then to have the courage to make the move.
Yes.
But the mind will get busy about giving you
Mm-hmm.
ideas.
Yeah. And Kanisha, I love that. With my daughter, I do the same. And I started her with, she would say the books, like I would read Think and Grow Rich and stuff. She's like, Mom, I don't understand this. I don't get it. So I started looking for personal development for kids. And so like right
Mhm.
now, my daughter is reading the seven highly effective habits for teens.
Okay,
And she loves that one. She loves it.
that's good. That's good. And because to me, those are the kind of books, and that is the kind of education that would truly change a child. That's why I say American
Mhm.
education is not interested in making
Mhm.
children better. They're not.
Yeah. Yeah,
Horrible.
we've gotta teach. We've gotta set up our own systems, and like you said, like Think and Grow Rich. Like I just, when I work with my young girls, like I'm teaching them these things, and we need more books. Maybe that's a lane that I know you're an author. Like maybe that's a lane that we can get into, like
Yeah.
more personal development and books like Think and Grow Rich for the youth, in a way
Yeah.
to put in a way where they can understand.
So mindset is everything. So
It
T,
is.
I want to say thank you for your work. You and I are going to talk definitely after this recording ends.
Let's.
So listen, guys, you all have just eavesdropped in on a conversation with two new friends.
Yes.
Which is what I do and what I'm telling you. I just want you all to get to a place where you understand that the company you keep, there's a saying that says you are a sum of the company you keep. So I'm intentional about bringing you these women so that you can recognize that, one, the gifts are already in you. Two, whatever you've experienced, you can turn your pain to purpose.
Yes.
And three, the only thing oftentimes that's stopping you is just a false belief of fear. And so I want you guys, if you need help with getting your sex life right, if you got a young person, please reach out to Coach T. Don't go another day. And if you guys are just ready for mindset work and mindset shift, just connect to one of us, because both of us can probably help you in some way or other. I'm about winning and winning together. So have a wonderful night, a wonderful day whenever you're watching. And T, thank you so much for being on my show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.